Project B is targeting some of the highest ranking basketball figures in the world. But what's more important is, will they offer Caitlyn Clark that $100 million?
Okay, this is wild. The WNBA just got hit with a bomb they absolutely weren't ready for. Caitlyn Clark's name is being thrown around with numbers that sound absolutely ridiculous. We're not talking millions anymore. People are legitimately discussing a $1 billion offer. Saudi Arabia just changed the game completely, and the league that's been underpaying its biggest star is about to learn a very expensive lesson. Seriously, if someone offered you $1 billion to play basketball overseas, would you even think twice? Drop a comment right now and let me know.
Notification come across my phone that says Neko Ogwumike becomes the first player known to join new Project B league in Europe and Asia. Neko Ogwumike, the president of the WNBA, in the middle of these CBA negotiations where literally everything is on fire right now in the world of women's basketball. Everything is burning. Nneka is announced as the very first player who will be joining this league that not only is a league that runs during the off season, but they have marketed themselves as a league that will rival the WNBA. It's a 5v5.
So check this out. The internet basically broke yesterday when Nneka Ogwumike signed with Project Bravery, and it's not because anyone really cares about Nneka specifically, but because of what this represents. She's the WNBA Players Association president, the woman who's supposed to be negotiating for better deals with the WNBA. Just jumped ship to the competition. That's like the captain of the Titanic seeing the iceberg and immediately hopping on a lifeboat. The message is crystal clear. Even the people running the union don't believe in the WNBA's future. But here's where it gets absolutely bonkers. After Nneka signed, the rumor mill went into overdrive about who's next, and the name everyone keeps bringing up is Caitlyn Clark. Not for a regular contract though. We're hearing whispers about offers that would make her one of the highest paid athletes on the planet. Some people are throwing around that $1 billion number, and while that sounds insane, you have to remember who we're dealing with here.
Now, word on the street is that they're looking to target Caitlyn Clark. We got some tweets to go over, but what's first is we got a bit of negotiations for the WNBA actually signing to this Saudi-backed project. Man, ESPN broke the story late yesterday, guys, and this one right here is a shocker. And this has to be a conflict of interest, man, in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
Because Saudi Arabia does not operate on normal economics. These folks have so much money that dropping $100 million on an athlete is literally nothing to them. They paid Cristiano Ronaldo over $200 million a year just to play soccer. They gave golfers signing bonuses in the hundreds of millions just to join LEV Golf. They flew Floyd Mayweather out for exhibition matches and paid him obscene amounts. Money is simply not an object when you're sitting on oil reserves that could fund a small country for decades. So when someone tweets that Caitlyn could get $1 billion offer, it's actually not as crazy as it sounds. Is it likely? Probably not. But is it possible? Absolutely. These are the same people who threw $6 million at a fighter for 3 exhibition games. The same folks who gave a golfer between $400 and $600 million just as a signing bonus. They're not playing by the same rules as everyone else.
Project B is paying a lot, which is what we assumed. You know, this all started with Saudi-backed league, and that's what got the controversy ball rolling and the speculation ball rolling. And to be honest, I wasn't sure what to make of it. But now it seems like a very, very real thing, particularly with Nneka Ogwumike signing, and there's the message that sends with her being the Players Association president and everything. But then there is the bottom line. You know, everybody's got a price as the $1 million man.
The WNBA is absolutely panicking right now. They've got collective bargaining negotiations happening. They just gave themselves a 30-day extension to figure things out. And in the middle of all this, their biggest competition comes along and starts poaching players with offers the league could never ever match. It's like trying to negotiate your salary while your boss someone else offer your coworker 10 times what you make. So let me break this down for you. What is Project Bravery actually offering? First, the money is undisclosed, which means it's probably embarrassingly high compared to WNBA salaries. Second, they're giving players equity stakes in the league. That means ownership. These women aren't just employees, they're investors who benefit when the league succeeds. Third, the schedule runs from November to April, perfectly fitting into the WNBA offseason when players would normally be grinding overseas anyway. Think about what that means for someone like Caitlyn. Instead of making her WNBA salary and then flying to Turkey or Russia to play in some half-empty gym for extra money, she could make generational wealth playing for a well-funded league with world-class facility. No more off-season grind, no more worrying about sketchy foreign leagues not paying her. Just one check that sets up her family for life. The timing couldn't be worse for the WNBA either. They're trying to negotiate a new media rights deal, they're trying to capitalize on the momentum from last season, and they need their stars to make it all work. Then Project Bravery shows up with Saudi money and threatens to gut the entire league. It's like watching someone spend years building a house of cards just to have someone else walk in and blow on it.
Anyhow, Project B is founded by former Facebook executive and the co-founder of Skype. And they've got the investors, as I've mentioned before. Candace Parker is one of them, Novak Djokovic, Sloane Stephens. So it's some big-time investors involved as well. But the salary is what is truly staggering and the thing that could change the entire game and the landscape.
Nneka Ogwumike literally said the compensation package was the key to her signing. She didn't even pretend it was about anything else. The money was better, so she took it. And why wouldn't she? The WNBA has been underpaying these women for decades, while promising that things would get better. Eventually, Project Bravery showed up and said, forget eventually, here's your money now. The conspiracy theories are already flying. Some people think Project Bravery specifically targeted the WNBA because they saw how vulnerable it was. The league has been bleeding players to overseas leagues for years. The salaries are terrible. The working conditions are subpar compared to men's leagues. All Project Bravery had to do was offer decent money and equity, and suddenly they're an attractive option. But Caitlyn Clark is the prize everyone's after. She's the biggest name in women's sports right now. She fills arenas. She crashes streaming services. She sells merchandise. If Project Bravery can get her, they legitimize their entire operation overnight. Suddenly, they're not just some startup league. They're the league that signed Caitlyn Clark. That's worth whatever they have to pay her. Now, some people are saying Caitlyn's stock has dropped recently. Maybe it has a little bit, but she's still by far the most marketable player in women's basketball. If this offer had come last year during peak Caitlyn mania, maybe we'd be talking about the full billion. Right now, a more realistic number is probably in the 10 to 20 million range, maybe up to 50 if they really want to make a statement. But here's the thing, Saudi Arabia doesn't do anything small. When they enter a market, they dominate it. They didn't just start a golf league, they started LEV Golf and immediately began poaching the PGA's biggest names with contracts that made headline. They didn't just invest in soccer, they brought Cristiano Ronaldo and turned their league into a destination for aging superstars, looking for one last massive payday. So when they target women's basketball, they're not coming to compete, they're coming to conquer, and Caitlyn Clark is the key to that conquest. If they can get her, they can get anyone. Other players will see Caitlyn getting paid properly and demand the same, or jump ship themselves. Within 2 years, Project Bravery could be the premier women's basketball league in the world, and the WNBA could be reduced to a developmental league. The WNBA's entire leverage over players has been that they didn't have options. Sure, you could go overseas, but that meant dealing with language barriers, different cultures, questionable league stability, and hoping your money actually showed up. Now, Project Bravery is offering overseas money with American-level organization and Saudi-level funding. That changes everything. Some folks are trying to make this a moral issue. They're saying players shouldn't take Saudi money because of human rights concerns. It's fair to bring up, but where's that energy when we talk about the NBA's relationship with China? Or when American companies do billions in business with countries that have questionable records? Athletes have always had to make complicated choices about where the money comes from. The reality is that Project Bravery is playing by the rules. They're not forcing anyone to, they're just offering better terms than the competition. That's capitalism. The WNBA spent years saying market forces determine salaries, and now the market is speaking loud and clear. Turns out when you introduce actual competition, salaries go up dramatically. Shocking. What's fascinating is watching the WNBA try to respond. They can't match these offers financially. They literally don't have the money. So instead, they're trying to appeal to emotion and loyalty. They're talking about building something together, about the value of playing in America, about legacy and history, but you can't pay rent with legacy, and you can't retire on good vibes. For Caitlyn specifically, this decision should be straightforward. She's already accomplished everything there is to accomplish domestically in terms of impact. She's already the face of women's basketball. She's already proven she can dominate at the professional level. What's left for her to prove in the WNBA? Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia is offering her the chance to get paid what she's actually worth. Let's talk about the precedent this sets. If Caitlyn takes the bag and goes to Project Bravery, every future women's basketball star now knows they have real options. They don't have to accept whatever scraps the WNBA throws at them. They can leverage offers from competing leagues. They can demand equity stakes. They can negotiate from a position of power instead of desperation. The WNBA created this situation themselves. They had years to fix the pay disparity. They could have shared revenue more equitably. They could have invested in marketing and growth. They could have treated their stars like actual stars instead of expendable employees. But they didn't, and now someone else is offering what the WNBA refused to provide. Think about how wild this is. The WNBA Players Association president just left for the competition. That's not a vote of no confidence. That's setting the building on fire on your way out. If the woman who's supposed to be fighting for better WNBA contracts doesn't believe in the WNBA's future, why would anyone else? And it's not just in America. Project Bravery has already attracted investment from former WNBA champions. Candace Parker is involved. Elena Della Dunn is involved. These are people who know the WNBA inside and out, and they're betting on the competition. That should absolutely terrify the league office. The format of Project Bravery is smart too. Running from November to April means it doesn't directly compete with the WNBA season. Players could theoretically do both. But here's the reality: if Project Bravery is paying you 10 times what the WNBA pays, why would you risk injury playing in the WNBA? Why would you split your focus? You just play for Project Bravery and call it a day. Some people are trying to claim this won't affect the WNBA much. They're saying most players will stay loyal to the league that gave them their start. That's delusional. These women aren't playing for charity. They're professional athletes trying to maximize their earning potential during a limited career window. If someone offers them life-changing money, they're going to take it. The WNBA's response has been predictably defensive. They're trying to downplay the threat. They're emphasizing the value of their brand and history. They're talking about how Project Bravery is unproven and risky, but none of that matters when the competition is backing up trucks full of cash to players' houses. What makes this even more interesting is that Project Bravery isn't just throwing money around randomly. They've got a real plan. They're using former executives from Facebook and Skype who know how to build global brands. They're getting WNBA champions involved as investors and advisors. They're studying what went wrong with other startup leagues and avoiding those mistakes. The comparison to LEV golf is obvious. When LEV launched, everyone said it would fail. The PGA said players were making a mistake. Fans said they wouldn't watch. But then the checks started clearing, and suddenly some of the biggest names in golf were jumping ship. Now LAV is an established league, and the PGA had to completely change how they operate. Project Bravery could do the exact same thing to the WNBA. They've got the funding, they've got the connections, they've got players already signing. All they need is one or two marquee names to legitimize the whole operation. And there's no bigger name in women's basketball than Caitlyn Clark. The WNBA is learning a harsh lesson right now. You can't underpay your employees for decades and then expect loyalty when someone else offers them fair compensation. These women don't owe the WNBA anything. The league has been profiting off their labor while paying them a fraction of what they're worth. Now the chickens are coming home to roost. The basketball world is watching Caitlyn Clark's next move like it's the most important decision in sports. Project Bravery isn't messing around, and neither should If this story has you hooked, hit that like button and subscribe, because this situation is about to get even crazier. Drop your thoughts in the comments.